Hello, everybody. Welcome to the GM Sports Report, your weekly podcast on all things sports where every play counts. I'm Grant, and I'm here with my co host Mason as we get ready to cover the latest news, headlines, and upcoming events going on in the sports world. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to see all things GM Sports Report. Mason, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Grant. How are you?
Doing pretty good. You know, doing good. All right,
Okay.
so let's just jump straight into it like we do every week with our hottest take of the week. So, Mason, what's your hot take this week?
My hot take this week is it does not matter who the Colts put at quarterback, they're still going to be bad. That may be like a little bit of an overreaction because they did play the Vikings, but still, it's going from what is it, 15 out of 30 completion percentage from Anthony Richardson to 16 for 32 of Joe Flacco. So
Yeah.
he missed some wide open receivers, and it was kind of hard to watch in some ways. And I'm sure Anthony Richardson was, he's kind of like, all right, well, I'm about to come back in, or kind of something like that. But yeah, that's my hot take of the week. Colts are just, they did not play well.
Yeah, they definitely had their struggles still without Anthony Richardson, so I agree with you there. My hot take of the week, it's pretty hot. You're probably not gonna like it too much. I put that CJ Stroud is just an average quarterback when he does not have stars to throw to. They lost to the Jets, first of all, 21-13. I mean, come on, how do you lose to the Jets after they're coming off a loss to New England? He was 11 of 30, 191 yards, and 126 of those yards were to Tank Dell. So he was just basically force feeding to Tank Dell the whole game because that was the only talented offensive weapon he had out on the field. So yeah, I think that he's just an average quarterback when he doesn't have Nick Collins or Stephon Diggs, who he won't have for the rest of the year. So I think that we're on fraud watch right now for CJ Stroud. A lot of people are making jokes because it was a Halloween game saying that he dressed up as Anthony Richardson for Halloween. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I see you're mad about it, so I'll let you rebuttal here.
So yeah, he didn't have the greatest game, overall. But why I don't think we should kind of put all the blame on him and rather give some credit to the Jets. Because what if they woke up? What if they're kind of flipping it around
So
this season,
the
putting
same
seat?
Jets that you've been trashing for the past 3 weeks
Yes,
straight
yeah,
on this
yeah, yeah, yeah.
podcast
Yep.
now all of a
Mhm.
sudden, oh, they're figuring it out. It's not
What if
CJ
they did?
Stroud's
What if they
fault.
did?
All right.
What if they did? I'm a CJ Stroud, believer
I
through
like
and
CJ
through.
Stroud.
Right, right, but who knows? Maybe the Jets did flip a switch. I'm not saying that they're the greatest team in the AFC or even the AFC East. They're still going to be bad. But what if they did? That could have been their coming out game. So he did play bad, but I wouldn't agree as far as a average quarterback with no weapons.
It's worked that
We'll
way.
see. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see how it plays out. It's one
Yeah,
game.
there's gonna probably be a
Um,
couple more weeks of this, so we'll get a good sample size, but that's my hot
yeah,
take
yeah.
after the first week of the sample size.
Okay, yeah, very hot. Yeah, that'll do good
Yeah.
on TikTok.
No, not for me, but it'll be good for you, yeah. All right, so next thing we're gonna do is jump into the underdog of the week. This is where we just point out someone that normally wouldn't get too much shout outs from people. So Mason, who's your underdog of the week?
So I'll give it to the Rams savior this week. It is Demarcus Robinson, 6 receptions, 94 yards, and a game-winning touchdown in overtime. He's been in the league for a pretty long time. I'm not too sure exactly how long, but he's been a name that kind of everyone knows. But for him to be able to kind of get all the spotlight in a huge game, it's good for him. I think they're playing the Seahawks, I believe. But yeah, it was a great performance by Demarcus Robinson.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good take, or a good underdog of the week rather. Just thinking about that game in general, this isn't who I picked, but another guy to shout out, I think that would be good is Jackson Smith and Jigba for the
Oh, for sure.
Seahawks.
Yeah.
2 touchdowns. I think he had like 170 something yards. Great game. Stepped in
Yeah.
when DK Metcalf was out. So I just want to shout him out off the
Mhm.
top of my head real quick. That's not who I ended up picking though. Who I ended up picking for my underdog of the week is Cam Thomas from the Brooklyn Nets. Now, 2 weeks ago when we were doing our NBA preview, we did a segment where we were talking about who we thought would have a breakout year this year in the NBA. And I said that it would be Cam Thomas because I think he's a great offensive player. And I think now that he has kind of the keys to the offense, he would break out. And so far this season, he's averaging almost 27 points per game. And
Mm,
also, this is a fun little stat. He leads the league in fourth quarter points right now with 77 points scored in the fourth quarter. So just something
wow.
interesting. I just wanted to shout him out and also prove that I'm right. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, Cam Thomas, that's my underdog of the week from the Brooklyn Nets. So yeah.
Cool. I also wanted to kind of add to your stat on JSN. He had
Hmm.
7 receptions, 180 yards, and 2
Okay.
touchdowns. So yeah, that is very good shout out there for putting him
Yeah.
there.
I'm glad you had the stats on standby there so we could get
Yeah,
the
yeah,
direct
yeah. I
stats
gotcha.
there. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Next, we're just going to jump straight into the NFL news. First, we're going to give our game prediction update. This is what we post weekly on Instagram and TikTok at GM Sports Report. We'll predict every single game every single week. It's been getting pretty close. Mason, I'm sorry to tell you, we both tied for 12-3 this week. So that
Oh
means I still
man,
have the 3-game advantage. My total record
dang.
being 92-46, your total record being 89-49. So still 3 games back on me. We both tied this week. Uh, one of these weeks, though, I know
I
you're going to
thought
make a
this was the
jump and we'll end up
one.
tying. I thought this would be the
I
one
thought
too.
it was the one.
I did not like my picks this week. After like the games had started, I was like, "Ooh, wish I made some changes there." But we both
Dang
tied at
man.
12-3, so still got that 3-game
Yeah.
advantage. We'll see if you can catch up in the next couple weeks here. All right, so now the other big thing we like to do when we're talking about NFL news is just kind of give our 3 takeaways from the last week of the NFL. So Mason, what are your 3 takeaways from this past week?
Okay, so my first takeaway is a pretty obvious, thing that's going to be touched up on, and it is that the Cowboys are in some serious trouble.
Mm,
They are now without Micah, CD, Dak, Deron Bland, Brandon Cooks, and Demarcus Lawrence. So Dallas's defense was not great to start the season off, even with all the starters. And now that these big names are out for them, along with the guys on offense, so it's not like they can back up the defense's play. Um, we're really going to see how badly this affects an already kind of beat up Dallas team. So
mm.
yeah, they're really going through it, and I feel like that's something that needed to be highlighted. Another thing after watching the Monday Night Football game with the Chiefs versus Bucks is trading DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs was the worst thing that the Titans could have ever done. Um,
Mm,
DeAndre Hopkins in no way, shape, or form was out of his prime. It's not like he was washed. He was just on a horrible team. And
right.
being on the Titans, it's a black hole. You could say the same thing for the Raiders. Um, just they've made some horrible decisions over there in Tennessee and letting go of Derrick Henry. Now DeAndre Hopkins letting Will Levis start. They got a lot of things going on over there, and they just gave Patrick Mahomes one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league. Well, maybe not this season, but overall, a target that is amazing. And then my third takeaway is with Christian McCaffrey coming back. He came back to practice. I think it was yesterday, so it would be
Yep.
Monday. Um, I think if he can come back sometime soon, fully, he will be able to spark that injured 49ers offense into maybe winning some games. I don't think he'll get the touch load as he did maybe last season or the season before when he was with them, but I think he still will be able to make some great plays for them and even win some games. So yeah, those are my 3 takes.
Just to touch on that last one you had real quick, I almost have like kind of a
Yeah,
question for you.
what's that?
I almost think that if like CMC comes back healthy, him not obviously you don't want him to miss time, but there is like a small positive in them missing in him missing time because they found out that they have like a legit RB2 in Jordan Mason. So do you think
Yes.
that they
Yep.
should start to make it like a split backfield for the rest of this year? That way they get maximize the efficiency and not risk CMC getting hurt again.
I do. I really do like that approach. The thing is, though, is I did see that Jordan Mason is also on the injured list. So
Oh,
I'm
really?
not
See, I didn't
too
see that.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He got injured. I think it was last week or the week before. So They're kind of
Gotcha.
on running back 3 right now, and with him coming back, I think he'll be splitting with whoever it is. But Jordan Mason, like I said, I don't know his timetable, but
Right.
yeah, that would be the best thing for the Niners, running back room.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see CMC with the German super soldier serum that he went to go get in
Yeah,
Germany. Uh-huh.
right.
All right. So yeah, my three takeaways. The first one, kind of similar to your first one. It's just Dak Prescott should have never been paid. Lost last week to Atlanta 27-21. He was 18 of 24, 133 yards. Cowboys are now 3-5. And like you said, with him and CD missing games, their playoff chances are starting to look very slim here. And I think not just like a Dak Prescott shouldn't be paid thing. This is like a lesson to be learned throughout the whole NFL this past year is to not pay your quarterbacks
Yeah.
right away when they haven't proved themselves. I mean, we see Dak happening with Dak. Obviously, it's going on with Tua right now on the Dolphins. Trevor Lawrence is another name that got paid
Daniel
that hasn't really proved
Jones.
himself. Daniel Jones is a big one. So yeah, I think that there just needs to be a lesson to be learned by NFL teams to not pay your quarterback when they haven't proven themselves yet.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's my first takeaway. My second takeaway to speak highly on a quarterback is that Drake May is the future of the Patriots. Now, they did have a loss in overtime. He was 29 of 41 for 206 yards, one touchdown, two interceptions. But he did have a last second touchdown to force overtime where he
Mhm.
did spend 15 seconds moving around in the pocket before delivering a pass to Ramondre Stevenson. Now, I'm not saying he's looked phenomenal in his first few starts, but he has looked pretty
Yeah, yeah.
good. And I think that the more and more he plays and the more comfortable he gets, it's going to start looking pretty good. And I can see him being the future of the Patriots here from here on out. So that was my second takeaway. Uh, my third takeaway was if there was any doubt for some reason about who runs the NFC North, that's put aside now after the Lions have defeated Green
Yep.
Bay 24-14 on the road at Lambeau Field. So yeah, that kind of just ended the debate there. I think the Lions pretty much just run the NFL at this point, not even just the NFC North. But for if there's some Green Bay fans out there that were still like hoping they had a chance to run the NFC North, it's not happening this year. That was my
Right.
third takeaway.
Another thing to add on that too is it was raining, downpouring the whole
Yes.
game. So
Hmm.
the Packers kind of came back a little bit in the fourth quarter, but even the score, being as close as it was, it didn't show how much the
Right.
Lions really dominated that game.
Yeah,
Because
I'm glad you
Packers
touched on
alone
that.
had I think 8 drops throughout that game.
Yes.
So it was kind of tough to see. But yeah, I think that was
Yes,
a great takes.
100%. Yeah. Also, one more thing I wanted to touch on about NFL before we jump over is that today, at the time of recording this, is the NFL trade deadline. At this time, no big trade has really been made yet. Khalil Herbert getting traded to the Bengals is kind of the biggest move that's happened so far. I don't know if anything big is going
Mhm.
to happen. But Mason, do you have like a prediction of like a big star that's going to be traded? If you want to get it out now.
Um, I think the biggest thing that like I've seen as far as rumors or anything is like a Miles Garrett going to Detroit, but
Mm,
that was like the biggest blockbuster thing I saw, and it wouldn't be a bad idea on both accounts because Browns aren't going to do anything this season anyway, and might as well get some kind of profit. Obviously, if you're a Browns fan, you don't want to see the best player in your team leave, but especially after losing Amari Cooper, so that's leaving you without a great offensive and defensive weapon at this point. But if the Lions want it that bad to win a Super Bowl, they're going to do whatever they can. So with whether they're getting that kind of edge rusher or somebody else somewhere great, yeah, I think I could see the Lions making some pretty big moves.
yeah, that'd be pretty crazy to see that happen. As far as my predictions, I think that not that it's going to be the biggest one, but the one that I believe in the most is that Marshawn Lattimore. I think he's going to end up getting traded to the Ravens today. I think the Ravens
Mm,
need to find that defensive stud to really settle in their
yeah.
defense,
Yep.
and I can see him being that guy. And the Ravens are kind of showing that they're willing to, make some moves here by trading for Deontay Johnson last week. But I don't think that makes them a full team. I think they need to go out and get a stud on the defensive end, and I think that Lattimore is the perfect player to go do that. So that's what my
For sure.
prediction is. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to hop into the NBA headlines. We're just going to sort of did what we do last week, and that's with starting off with our NBA Player of the Week. So Mason, who is your Player of the Week this past week?
So my player of the week, he's not making huge headlines or anything, but it's somebody that I was kind of looking at, and it's like, okay, that's a great, number two for their team, and that's Darius Garland.
Mm,
He had 39 points last night against Milwaukee and 8 assists, and he's averaging about 20 points per game, and he's a great number two for that Cleveland offense behind
yes, he
Donovan
is.
Mitchell.
Yeah, my mom's gonna be very happy with that pick because we have a family fantasy basketball league, and she has Darius Garland, and she's been
Mm.
going crazy about Darius Garland,
Oh
so she's
yeah.
gonna like that pick from you.
Oh yeah.
Um, Ironically enough, my player of the week is another person my mom has on her fantasy team, and that is Victor Wembanyama. I mainly picked him
Okay.
because of two performances that he had. It's not like he's been like dominant this whole season. He's actually started out a little bit slower than we
Right.
all expected. But he did have a crazy game on Halloween where he had 25 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 threes. But this was the crazy thing. He had a 5 by 5, which means 5 steals and 5 blocks. And this is the third
Dang.
time in 77 games he's had a 5 by 5, which is just
Dang.
absolutely absurd because like most players go throughout their career and don't even get that stat line once. The fact that he's had it 3 times in 77 games is pretty absurd. And then last night, I don't know if you saw, this man had 9 blocks in one game last night.
Oh
Nine
my
blocks.
gosh, I did not
Almost had a
see
triple
that.
double with
And
blocks. Absolutely crazy. Just his size and his way to protect the rim is just absolutely absurd. So I just feel like it's
wow,
worth shouting out. That's my player of the week, Victor Wembanyama. San Antonio, man, they're starting to turn it around. I mean, they still got a ways to go, but they're taking a step towards the future. That's for sure.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Next thing I want to do is now point out an NBA team of the week. So Mason, who is your team of the week in the NBA right now?
So I'm gonna go with a team that no one really thought was gonna do as good as they are right now. Especially losing, one of the Splash Brothers, and that's
Mm,
Golden State Warriors. Steph
yes.
Curry missed 3 games, and Golden State is still managed to be 6-1 on the year. I gotta give a shout out to Buddy Hield. He has been balling off the bench with 22 points per game and getting about 27 minutes a game. So it definitely shocked me, and I'm sure it shocked a lot of the other NBA fans. But yeah, Golden State is my team of the week.
Yeah, I could have said it better myself. That's the team I picked.
Oh
Golden
man.
State, 6-1 now. Obviously, I wrote it down, 3-0 after losing Steph Curry. Pretty impressive.
Wow.
I think basically what I just want to touch on that you didn't really touch on too much is that before
Yeah.
going into the season, after losing Klay Thompson in the offseason, like no one really expected them to be that good.
Yeah.
Actually, a
Yeah.
lot of people thought that, this was the end of the dynasty, Klay Thompson leaving,
Yep.
Draymond getting older, Steph's getting older. But they're finding a way to win games right now. But like you said, Buddy Hield has been incredible. Um, they've looked really good. Andrew Wiggins has been very good for them, who was someone
Mhm.
that was good for them a few years back when they made that finals appearance. They actually won the finals that year in
Yeah.
2021. Yeah, they've looked really good. Yeah, that's my team of the week as well. You couldn't have said it better myself. So yeah.
Cool.
All right. So also one more thing I wanted to touch on going in around in the NBA, just to kind of get your opinion on it. I feel like it's a bit of a long shot, but there are some rumors starting to swirl, especially now that the Bucks are 1-6, who I also predicted 2 weeks ago to be the team that goes down.
Mm.
Um, there's some rumors stirring that Giannis is starting to get a little unhappy over there and that he could ask his way out in the future. And two of his preferred destinations is Brooklyn and the Miami Heat. I just want to get your opinion. Do you think this is like a something that could happen later down the road? Do you think it's like a no shot this happens? What are your thoughts on all the Giannis rumors swirling right now?
So I'm definitely not gonna close any doors as far as say like, oh, he's not gonna ask out. I don't know if we don't know if he is the kind of player to do that. He's never really been in this situation. Yeah, they went through a rough stretch last year getting Doc Rivers, but they've never started this bad, like I said. So
Yeah.
we'll really have to see how it plays out. I think if he does ask out, it'd be very interesting to see if he does go to Miami. I know you'd be loving it. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. But I'd have to see them pull the trigger because as long as like I've been a huge fan of like NBA now, I haven't really seen Miami go out and get that, player that everyone's kind of been big on. Like that Dame thing, what was it, a year or two ago?
Yeah, 2 years
A
ago.
year ago.
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
2 years ago. Wow.
No, not 2 years
Um,
ago. I always get
it
mixed up,
was a
like, with the
year
season.
ago.
Yeah, it was a year
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, seeing the heartbreak, just from you and all the other Miami fans, I'd have to see it, actually happen. And once I see that, it would be, it'd just be like, wow, that's crazy. But yeah, I know you're excited to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about this just straight from a Miami Heat fan aspect, not like from like a
Mm-hmm.
sports media analysis type of aspect. Um, Look, as a Miami Heat fan, if Giannis becomes available, I'm begging. I am on my hands and knees begging Pat Riley to finally pull the trigger and go get this whale. Whatever it takes, man. Like if they want all our young prospects, take them. I do not care. You'd give up whatever it takes. Giannis is a generational talent. There is not going to be another
Mm-hmm.
Giannis in the league for 20 years. Okay. He's one of a kind. He plays defense. He's one of the best offensive players. He gets you like 35, 10, and 8 every game. It's unbelievable. You need to pull the trigger. Now, reel it back in, as nice as it all sounds. I'm sure that if Giannis becomes available for trade, the Bucks would want Bam Adebayo from us. And as a Heat fan, logically, I think we should
Mm.
trade Bam for Giannis. I really do. I think that Giannis is one of the only players I would trade Bam for, but the Miami Heat would never trade Bam Adebayo. He's their captain there. They've already said how they want him to retire there and play his whole career there. So it's just not going to happen. So if that's the asking price, we're kind of screwed there. But I think that's something that can be interesting here is that if the Bucks are trying to like sell a little bit at the deadline, I think you circle back and you finally get Damian Lillard. His price will be a
Mm-hmm.
lot lower than what the original asking price was a year ago when you're trying to make the deal
Yep.
with Portland. And you kind of have the aspects or the assets now to make that trade happen. So I think almost a smarter move would be to give up less assets and acquire Damian Lillard and finally get that player that you've been looking to add, finally get that star. Because I just think as much as I would want Giannis in a uniform for the Heat, I just with how valuable he is, I can't even imagine what the asking price for that is.
Oh,
So
I know.
I can't see
Yeah.
it happening as much as I wanted to. So I do think that you should circle back on Dame if anything becomes available from Milwaukee. That's
And
all I gotta
that's
say.
valid. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
realistic, which is, it's good. It's
Yeah.
good
I
to
gotta be
kind of get
realistic
that
with
part of
myself,
it
you
too.
know?
Yeah.
I was hurt by the
Mhm.
Dame stuff. I'm fully recovered now. So if Giannis stuff does start, I'll be ready to get my heart broken again. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's pretty much all for the NBA news today. Now we're going to slide over to the MLB. The World Series has concluded. Your Los Angeles Dodgers are World Series champions this year. Mason, what were your
Not
thoughts on the
mine.
World Series? Have a little vent session for you as a Yankees fan.
They're not my Los Angeles Dodgers. They're the Los
Well, you
Angeles.
know it's America's
Alright, I
champion for
know. Yeah,
baseball this
whatever,
year.
whatever. Alright, so my thought was we were coming back from the Miami Knicks game. What was it? Was it Wednesday night? Last Wednesday night?
Yes.
Um, and as I was checking the score, which I was doing very often in that game, I saw we were up 5-0. I'm like, okay, cool. We have this game. Surely there's no way we can we can let it slide, right? And then they put up a couple runs, and I said to you, I remember specifically saying to you, I'm like, if we lose this game, we don't deserve to even like, you know, compete in this World Series anymore. Which is exactly what happened. Some of the worst defense I think I've seen. Judge's one and only error on the whole year. Pretty much cost us the game, which is so sad to see because I'm a Judge believer through and through. Um, Garrett Cole not covering first base.
Mm.
Um, that's just as a baseball player, Grant. In that situation, Rizzo's picking up the ball behind first. A couple feet out, kind of towards more like the in outfield. The pitcher's got to go get that bag, right? Tag the bag.
So, as someone who played both first base and pitcher in high school, it was almost instilled into our minds as a pitcher. Anytime, even if
Right.
the first baseman is fielding it right by the bag, you run over
Mhm.
there just in case he bobbles it and needs to flip it over. You always go over as a pitcher. There is no scenario where a pitcher should just be standing on the mound watching a first baseman field a ground ball, especially when it's a guy like Rizzo, who's not the most mobile guy and is fielding it
No, no.
damn near in right field. So, yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm
like
saying.
It's like
So
it's pitching 101,
it's
PFP's 101. You always go over when the
okay.
ball's hit on that side. I mean, there was times where the ball would be hit to the second baseman, and just out of instinct, I'm already starting to like jog over there just in case. Yeah, it's like I cannot believe that he made that mistake on that big of a stage, and it ultimately ended up, coming back to haunt them. It's just brutal to see.
It was one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, there's a lot going on. Surely this, gets an out here finally. And you see Garrett Cole kind of try and run over and then kind of stops himself. And it's
Hmm.
like, dude, like what are you
What are you doing?
doing? I really wasn't able to watch the game. Like I said, we were at the game, at the Heat game, but I was watching just through and I'm like, man, that like I feel like that's just what you do, man. You just go run to first.
100%.
And like you said, Rizzo's not the most, mobile, especially kind of being up there. And also breaking news: Commanders acquire four-time Pro Bowler Marshawn Lattimore.
Wow. So Lattimore did get traded
He
to the
did.
Commanders. You said
Commanders,
great
yep.
move.
Commanders got Marshawn Lattimore. Um, so yeah, just a little tidbit right there.
Great
Um,
move. That's a great move for them to make right there.
Yeah, yep. That'll be very interesting to see. But yeah, to finish off, it was a horrible game to lose, and like I said, if we lost that one, we didn't deserve to win at all. So yeah,
Nice. Uh, I'm sorry, I'm distracted by the Lattimore being. Let's just talk
I
about that
know.
real quick. What does this
Yeah,
do for
yeah,
the
yeah.
Commanders
That
in your
works.
mind? Let's just go off the fly here.
So I like it. I like it a lot. I can't really name too many huge DBs for the Commanders. I know they have St. Just, Forbes, Emmanuel Forbes, but all the Commanders fans aren't really huge on him. He
Yeah.
lost a lot of weight in this offseason, and all the Commanders fans are like, well, how is he supposed to hold his own? I
Mm,
think he's like 6'2" and he's weighing like 170 pounds or something. So it's like
dang.
180 pounds, I think it is. But it's one of those things where you need some veteran leadership, and they have not only now Marshawn Lattimore, but they have Bobby Wagner as well
Yep.
that can lead that defense and really, get to where they got to go.
Yeah, I think that this is a big step in the right direction for the Commanders. I think they're finally starting to realize, hey, we got like a competitive, contending type team over here. Let's go get a guy on defense that can really help us out. And that's exactly what they did. I love that move. Their offense already looks
Hmm.
very good right now with Terry McLaurin. Obviously, we know Jaden Daniels is looking generational right now. Austin Eckler
Yeah.
had a big
Yep.
game last week, so he's starting to look good. Yeah, this is a phenomenal move. I'm very high on it, and I can see this helping them out a lot in the long run here. So yeah, great little
For
breaking news
sure.
there, and
Yeah, I
glad
know.
to
I
see
know. I
that
just saw it
happen.
like pop up on
Yeah,
my notes. Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out there. That's good.
Hmm.
All right, now we'll jump back into the MLB. I'll give kind of my
Okay.
thoughts on the World Series. I just think the Dodgers looked like the better team. They looked like the
Hmm.
experienced team. A lot of guys on that team have played in a World Series before, and at the end of the day, I think they wanted it more. It kind of seemed that way, at least. And yeah, uh, sorry for the Yankees and the Yankees fans out there, but it just wasn't your year. I think the Dodgers
No,
kind of
no.
took control after that game one walk off grand slam. Which, by the way, I don't know how we forgot to talk
Stupidest
about him last week,
decision.
but Freddie Freeman, my goodness, became the hottest player in baseball for that World Series, and I just absolutely love to see it. Freddie Freeman, such a upstanding guy. So happy to see him successful. So glad to see that.
Partial owner of the New York Yankees now.
Yeah, yeah, he sure is. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts. I just think the Dodgers were the better team and they wanted it more, so they went out and got it. Be
They
interesting
were.
to see what happens next season. Speaking of next season, one of the biggest headlines floating around the MLB right now is what is going to happen with Juan Soto. Do you think that Juan Soto is going to leave the Yankees this offseason?
I do. And in my mind, he's already a Met. He crossed the city, went over to Queens, and I don't think that we can get him his asking price. There's no and like I think he has it in his heart that he's like, okay, yeah, I'm not closing any doors. Like what he said right after the World Series, it's like dude, like you don't even really want to be here. We get you
He's
want
calling
your
them. He's
money,
referring
but
to them in past tense.
I know, I know, man. So it's like, wow, that's crazy. And then I think everyone saw his asking price is 700 million, which Soto's was, or no, sorry, Shohei's was like 600, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So
something. Yeah,
that's
it's
him.
crazy. His asking price.
That's him implying that he's a better overall player, like, and worth more than Shohei Ohtani, which is absolutely ridiculous to me. I'm over here telling my dad, I think, he's maybe 400, 500 million, probably more
Yeah,
300, 400, but 700 better than a two-way playmaker. Like,
yeah,
there's no way.
yeah. I don't think that Soto's good. At first, I was like, oh, he'll stay. But after seeing some
Mm-mm.
reports coming out, I think he's gone, and I think it's already like not set in stone. But to me, I firmly believe that he's going to be a New York Met. I don't know if you saw the post I sent you today before we started recording. Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets, basically made it pretty known that no one's going to outbid him, and that he's going to
Yeah.
do whatever it takes money wise to get
Yeah,
Juan
I did see
Soto.
that.
And the only way
Hmm.
that Juan Soto won't be a Met is if that he takes a lesser deal for somewhere else. So if Juan Soto's truly in it for the money and he wants the biggest bag, it's going to be the New York Mets. It sounds like. So Matt's probably kicking his feet right now somewhere,
Oh, yeah, I
ecstatic
know. I
about it.
know.
But I can just see that happening. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if he does stay with the Yankees. That means he's probably pretty loyal and took a little bit of a pay cut. But I don't know.
Just don't see it.
It doesn't look too good
No,
right now. Let's just put it that way.
no, it doesn't.
Yeah. Will be interesting to see what happens here with him. But now we're gonna head into college football, and basically what we're just gonna do for college football this week is give our game of the week. Mason, I'll kind of let you take over on the college football stuff because you're definitely more into it than I am. So go ahead,
Yeah, yeah.
give us your game of the week and
Um,
everything.
Yeah, so I'll give you my game of the week, and then you can give your game of the week, and then I'll talk
Right,
about like another kind of thing. So,
gotcha.
my game of the week is Texas Tech beating the 11 ranked Iowa State, giving them the first loss of the season.
Mm,
Taj Brooks the Texas Tech running back, had 25 carries, 122 yards, and a touchdown. Josh Kelly, Texas Tech wide receiver, he had 19 targets, 8 receptions, 127 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then Iowa State's quarterback had 332 yards and 2 touchdowns, an interception. And then Jaden Higgins, their Iowa State's wide receiver, had 16 targets, 149 yards, and a touchdown. So there's a lot of offensive stats going on. Seemed like there was very little defense, and I think the ending score was 22-23, Texas Tech. And it's just the thing that kind of stuck out to me, and it was most insane to see, was the target amount. Um, Two receivers had over 15 targets each, and it's like for both of their teams, and it was just wild to see.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So yeah,
Yeah, it's sounds like a good game. My game of the week is going to be Ohio State versus Penn State. Ohio State
yeah.
completed the upset on Penn State, giving them their first loss of the season. Will Howard was 16 of 24, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And Judkins, their running back, had 14 carries for 95 yards. Yeah, beat Penn State, who is undefeated before that. And yeah, our guy Will Howard got the job done. That's my game of the week.
You you could be a little more emphasized about that one.
I
I
don't
know
like
you
Will
love Will
Howard,
Howard and
okay? It's
everything.
not it has nothing to do with Will Howard. I don't even know the guy. It's just at the beginning of college football, the video game on PS5, everyone had Will Howard when we played them in co-op, and everyone would just tear us apart with Will Howard. So I
Run the
just kind of
ball.
engraved the
They
hatred for Will Howard. It has nothing to do with the guy, like in real life. It's just his video game character I don't like. So yeah, it's just engraved into my mind to not like Will Howard, even though he's probably a great guy. But yeah, that's my game of the week is Ohio State beating Penn State.
I love it. Um, another headline I'd like to talk about is the 16th ranked Ole Miss killed, and I mean killed, Arkansas. um,
Mm.
63-31. And I'll tell you what, Jackson Dart, he was he was on one. 515 yards, 31 attempts, and completing 25 of those attempts while getting 6 touchdowns and no turnovers. So you may think that stat line is insane, but when I tell you about Jordan Watkins, the receiver of
Mhm.
Ole Miss, he had 8 receptions, 54 yards, and 5 touchdowns as a
No,
receiver.
that's actually insane. That is actually
5
insane.
touchdowns. So I saw this stat line. I'm like, okay, yeah, 54 yards is insane. And I saw 5 touchdowns. I'm like, hold
That's
on.
crazy.
Let me fact check this. So
Yeah, you
I
thought it
went
was a
on
typo?
Safari and everything. Yeah, so I went through it all and it's legit. 5 out of those 6 touchdowns Jackson Dart threw were all to Jordan Watkins. And it was
Wow.
I so I'm into college football, but like this guy, he just escalated like everyone's, he made his name known. So
Right.
yeah, that's another kind of headline I wanted to talk about. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's kind
I'm
of all I
glad you
have
pointed
for
that out. It sounds like
yeah,
a
yep.
crazy stat line. I don't think I've ever seen
Mhm.
that from a wide receiver before. 5 touchdowns
Nope.
in one game. That's absurd.
No.
One more quick shout on college football, just real quick. Shout out Cam Ward, another Heisman-like performance.
Yeah.
Just had to get that
Future
out
New
there.
York Giant. Future New York
All
Giant.
right, let's stop that. We don't.
All right,
Okay.
let's go.
Shout out Cam Ward. All right, now we're gonna head into a brand new segment. We're still working out the name a little bit. We're just gonna call it GM's top five right now. This is just where we're gonna give our top five list on whatever the chosen topic is. And today's chosen topic is our NBA top five teams so far in the season. The season's been going on for 2 weeks now, so we're able to give a little early opinion. So yeah, what's your top five NBA teams on your GM's top five list?
So at 5, I have Phoenix.
Mm,
I don't have really too so I kinda just went through, like, the, I guess, order that they had
yeah.
online, like, the seating or whatever, and I saw Phoenix was there, so I was like, "Okay, yeah, cool," that makes sense. They got KD going pretty well and, D-Book doing pretty well, but, yeah, they're at my 5, and then 4 we talked about a lot earlier is Golden State. Um, I would put them higher, but I still gotta see a little more from them. And Cleveland is at my 3, and that's really off of, just their record. They haven't played any super strong teams yet, so this is all fluctuating. And then 2 2 is Boston. I just think they're a much better team than Cleveland is. If they're to go in a 7-game series, I think Boston's getting a sweep. Cleveland might get one, it might be a gentleman's sweep, but I think Boston's just a better team than Cleveland. And my number 1 is OKC, Oklahoma City Thunder. I think like same with Boston, but I think they're just a younger and more talented team, and it'll be really interesting to see how they go as well. I know you're a big Shy fan, but
Mhm.
yeah,
I like it. Number five, I also have Phoenix. They've started out really hot. Kind of the unsung hero for them has been Bradley Beal stepping
yeah.
up and being a pretty big
Oh,
player for them.
okay.
Obviously, everyone knows KD, Devin Booker, great,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
Bradley Beal was the guy they traded for a year ago, and he didn't really do too well his first season. And this season so far, he's looking like a pretty good player for them. Number four, I also have Golden State. Like we said, talked about them a lot. Very good so far. A lot of people weren't expecting that. Number three, I got that team that's from Boston. That's about it. Number two, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are 8-0. They're at number two because, like you said, I don't think that they are the best team in the NBA despite having an 8-0 record, which is very impressive. I'm not taking that away from them. I sure as heck
Right.
wasn't expecting them to start out 8-0. But I
Mhm.
do think the number one team, the Oklahoma City or Thunder, I do think they're the best team in the NBA right now, 7-0. Just an all around complete team. Shea, Chet's looking really good. Williams is looking really good for them. They got Caruso off the bench coming in, who's a great six man to have. Just a really deep team that looks very good right now. And their chemistry has always just been so good. And I think that's what's going to take them far in the long run is how good their chemistry is compared to some of these other teams at the top. So, yeah, pretty similar top five list, but those are both our top fives in the NBA now that we have a small sample size to go off of so far. Yeah, those are
Mhm.
top five lists.
Yep.
Yeah, that pretty much wraps up the episode.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of the GM Sports Report, where every play counts. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to be able to see our weekly episodes on all things sports. For additional content, check the description to see links to our Instagram and TikTok account. This is Grant and Mason, and we're signing off for now. Have a good day. Have a good week, everybody.
Thank you, guys.